Georgina, who's running for president. So can you sum up the main changes that you want to make?
Right, so I'm talking about how I want to make student life cheaper. And I think the main way I want to do this, and the most important way, is kind of slightly indirect. But because the extra students coming in next year, the library space is going to be completely packed. And I've given a lot of thought to the best way to deal with this, and I think that we need to press the university to act now and not delay, and to commit to building an extra floor on top of the Arts and Social Sciences Library, which is something they've been thinking about doing, but they haven't wanted to say, we're going to do it right now, we're going to act. So I think that's something I want to do, as well as forcing the university to actually say that they're going to use the space reserved in the new union building for working space, which is what students need. And this cuts costs for students because, when you're having to work in cafes all the time, when you're having to pay to heat the house to work at home, it all adds up, and it just seems like indirectly the university is making more money by bringing extra students in and then passing those costs on to us. So I want to change that.
Okay. I mean, obviously the university is going to have less funding anyway next year, so how do you think you could make sure that there is that funding to cover those kind of changes?
Yeah, right. Well, the university, every student which comes in is worth £9,000 to them now. I mean, the way the university is funded has kind of really changed since the government's bills have been coming into effect this year. So whilst the government funding has been taken away, they'll be getting a lot more money from those extra students. So we have to make sure that's channeled in the right direction, and that they're updating the resources we have at our disposal at the same rate as they're increasing the amount of students in the university, so that we don't get a worse deal.
Okay. And also, with building that new floor on the AST library, surely that's going to be quite disruptive for current students.
Yeah, right.
How would you deal with that?
Well, when the floor is built, it is going to be disruptive. It'll probably take a year to build. This is what they're predicting.
Yeah.
And probably it'll take at least some of the Arts and Social Sciences Library out of action for a year. That is going to be disruptive, but because the university is increasing the amount of students year upon year, so next year it's about 600 extra students, but in 4 years' time there's going to be 20% more students in the university than there is now. So the later the university leaves it, the more it dithers on this, the worse that year out of action is going to be for everyone. So I want to make sure this year's freshers aren't dealing with that absolutely appalling situation in their final year when the Arts and Social Sciences Library is out of action, and that we make it as easy for students as possible. So we have to act now. Okay.
Okay. And if you could only make one of the changes, one of your policies happen, what would it be?
Well, I think something I really care passionately about is the 10-to-1 wage ratio, which I'm talking about, which is it's something which affects students less directly, but it's something which I believe is really important so that we can be part of a fairer institution. Because at the moment, higher education has the biggest differences between the lowest and highest wage staff. So that's, on average for universities, 15-to-1, but in Russell Group universities it goes up to 19-to-1, and I think that's really unfair when the Vice-Chancellor at this university, once you've factored the pension in, excuse me, is earning about £1,000 a day. I think that's absolutely outrageous when we have people here on minimum wage.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that's really important, and I'd love to change that.
I agree. I think it's really unfair, but I'm not sure that will necessarily make current students vote for you, because it doesn't have a direct impact on them.
Right, well, I mean, the way I see it, I think it does affect students, because a lot of people who are employed by the university on the lowest wages are student workers doing part-time jobs, funding their education. So by bringing those kind of minimum wage jobs up to a fairer wage, possibly living wage, which is calculated according to the cost of living in a particular city. And in Bristol, life is expensive. So, it will affect those students who need the money, who are doing those part-time jobs a lot.
Okay.
It'll also mean that we can, be proud of the institution we are in, knowing that it's fairer than it is at the moment.
Okay. I mean, you do seem very passionate about this, but how can you also convince people that you actually really care about Bristol Uni, and this campaign, everything about it isn't just a step to kind of strengthen your CV, isn't just a step for your future career?
Right. Well, I would imagine that the amount of people I've spoken to really tells about how much I care about this. I mean, there's 6,000 people voting in these elections, and I've been around. It's only halfway through the campaign, but I've already been around 5 halls. Okay. Someone who was only doing this to look at their CV wouldn't have gone to that effort. And I think that's reflective of the way I would like to run the union, to be really going out of its way to connect with students face to face.
Okay. Cool. And if you could describe Bristol in 3 words, what words would you use?
I would use, I think
it's quite hard to think.
It's difficult. It's just difficult to think of like a single word, because I think one thing I'd use to describe it would be there's a lot of wide variety in the city, which I love, but that's not one word. I love the fact that there's different areas. Yeah, well, that was kind of what I was going for, but it might not have got the message across, because there's lots of different areas, which I really love, kind of seeing different things every day. The university is vibrant and it's exciting to be in. Okay. So, yeah, there we go.
Cool. And on a scale of 1 to 10 at the moment, how much tension is there between you and the other candidates?
I'd say when you're running competitively against people, there's always going to be a bit of tension, but we've kept things fairly nice, so I think I'd say 5.
5?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Quite amicable.
Yeah, not too bad.
Okay. So just quick round of word association. Okay, so I'm going to say a word, just say the first thing that comes to your mind.
I'll do my best.
Bristol.
Students.
Spoon.
Fork.
Chunder.
Oh god, I can't remember that guy's name. YouTube.
Tree.
Leaf.
Lounge.
Club.
Fresher.
Chunder.
Union.
President.
Home.
London.
Art student.
Philosophy.
Okay, great. And just another quick fire round. So I'm going to ask you a question and you can only answer yes or no. Okay. So since being a student, have you worn the same underwear for more than 2 days in a row?
More than 2 days?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Thrown up everywhere?
No. What counts as everywhere?
I mean, not in a toilet or a bowl?
No.
Okay, that's good. Thrown up over someone else?
No.
Okay, done the walk of shame?
No.
Got excited about supermarket deals?
Yes.
Yeah. Tried to avoid someone who you made friends with on Freshers Week?
Yes.
Got off with more than one person in a night?
No.
Joined society and only went to one session?
Yes.
Being able to see your breath inside your student house?
Yes.
Okay. And finally, are you going to win?
Yes.
Okay. So just sum up to people briefly why they should vote for you.
You should vote for me because I'm passionate about what I do, because I've really thought out about how I want to cut costs for students, and I believe really strongly we need to do this because I feel like the government's passing on the burden of the austerity measures onto students, and we didn't cause a financial crisis, so I want to make sure there's someone strong to stand up for us.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Georgina. And if you want to vote for Georgina, then if you log on to the Student Union website, you can do it from now on.